Hello, everybody, and wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a fantastic time at HybriCon Conference 2022. My name is Rapelang Ravana, and I'm a technology entrepreneur here to share some interesting perspectives on innovation and tech fluency. Today, I want to unpack this conversation by looking at three big myths that I see playing out in the world all the time. Myth number one that large organizations and corporates have is that if we talk innovation, we will be more innovative. Myth number two that I see entrepreneurs, especially those not in the tech space, have in their own minds are, if only I can get enough funding to build my app, then I'll be able to launch my tech startup. And myth number three, that is more general across the board, is innovation is about that one powerful epiphany or idea. Let's unpack each of these myths and come to realize the real truth behind them that will empower you and your organizations to truly innovate. Myth number one. Large organizations believing that the more we think and talk innovation, the more innovative we will become. I see this play out more often than I'd really like to believe. But essentially, I see it in all the technology showcases and innovation labs that we've seen large organizations set up with the view of, let's create a place where we pull in entrepreneurs, pull in innovators to come and showcase and work with us. And, maybe we'll figure out how to get onto this digital transformation wave or ride the next innovation cycle. We see it in how organizations also have these innovation competitions, essentially every year or something like that, rewarding a business unit or a team that has managed to launch some major innovation in the business and will be able to get rewarded or some kind of recognition for it. We see it in, any kinds of events or town halls that we often launch either through supply chain development programs, enterprise development programs that are meant to, put these entrepreneurs on a platform and say, guys, this is innovation. We as a company are supporting it, and therefore, by some great intentions, some deep hopes and great, faith, we will get to the point where we become truly innovative. And while all of these things are meant well, they do not translate, because to truly be innovative as a large organization, especially, it's not about intentions. It actually requires a scientific process around it. The same way we used and learned about science at school, at university, let's not forget about it when we get into business. Rule number one in innovation for large organizations is that most ideas will fail. 80% of ideas will fail during the natural course of events. Another thing that happens in large organizations is that once you do start a project, you need to make sure that before you keep allocating resources to it, that it actually is the right it. The longer it takes for you to validate and answer that question of whether this is the right it or not, the harder it is to pull back and reallocate your resources elsewhere. The other thing we see happening here in large organizations is that the innovation is sponsored or supported not using customer metrics of what data is collected from the market, but the opinion of the highest paid person. We call that the HIPPO, the highest paid person's opinion. And there's nothing more dangerous to innovation than HIPPO-based decisions instead of customer-based data metrics. The real aim of innovation in large organizations should rather be to create a lean innovation framework that decides how innovation or what the overall strategy of the organization is in terms of innovation and what we need the innovation to do for the organization, how ideas are sourced, how ideas are prioritized, how it gets support, financial and otherwise, at various stages, and ultimately gets to a point where it can be proven to be valid or invalid before it secures more funding, and then ultimately getting to the scale point. That's where things fall apart, and you actually can't just, wish your way through it. You've got to design a lean innovation framework. Let's look at myth number two. And this, I'm going to pick on entrepreneurs who are also my favorite people. And I just actually had a lunch today where an entrepreneur was saying, I've got amazing stuff that I can package into a technology product and be able to scale what we do. But how much money do you think I will need in order to be able to build this thing? And where do you think I can get that kind of money? That's really the wrong question to be asking yourself. One is that if you haven't even got that clarity yet, you shouldn't be spending someone else's money as a start. Today, in the world we live in, we have the privilege of no-code tools, which means that anyone, without being a software developer, without having technical skills, can build a new website, can launch a chatbot, can build a mobile app, can build a web application without writing a line of code. This was not there when I graduated from university 15 years ago. You had to do coding and bespoke software development. Today, I honestly believe that there is no good excuse for anyone with an idea who wants to get out into the market to not be able to do it themselves using all the digital DIY tools out there. Everything from website tools like Wix or Strikingly, chatbot tools like Landbot, mobile application tools like Glide Apps or Adalo, web application tools like Softer or Bubble, for example. Mega businesses today have been built on these kind of platforms and been able to raise money and get to their first 1,000 or million customers. It's time for entrepreneurs to get off that sort of a secret place where you feel like as long as I can make the excuse where I don't have money to build something, then I'm excused from having to do this myself. It's no longer an acceptable reason. And the truth is, at the beginning, you don't actually know what you want yet, which is why you should use the off-the-shelf tools to get going and get into the market. That's how you're going to figure out what you really want. And then maybe 4 or 5 years down the line, when you really know what you want and you're really sure that it's not available using any of the off-the-shelf tools available, then you can have a conversation around let's do some custom software development. You will have some customers, you will have revenue, you will be able to raise funding, you'll be able to get the support. And let's change that frame of thinking. There is no excuse today to not be able to build the technology tools that you need to launch your enterprise. Let's look at myth number 3, the final one. And this one applies really across the board. It's really to say that, I think at school we were taught about Isaac Newton having a eureka moment, an apple falling from a tree and suddenly there's an epiphany, or Einstein having these brain waves, etc. And we've associated the concept of innovation to these out of the blue, powerful epiphanies that, lightning strikes and suddenly you have the idea that is going to make you a billionaire. That could not be further from the truth. The most successful innovators, from the times of Thomas Edison to the likes of Steve Jobs, etc., are all about having the highest batting average. Do they get up every single day for years and years, figuring something out that has captured their curiosity, and over years building the unique know-how and insights that allows them to really figure out how this product can break constraints, can break the hindrances in customer experience, and truly, truly provide a remarkable product or service. That simply doesn't happen in a bolt of lightning. It doesn't happen in one godlike moment where you suddenly become a super genius. And this is why I am so confident that the people that are willing to wake up and bat, get to the crease every single day, over 5 to 10 years, will be able to have an extraordinary advantage over those that are sitting back and waiting for their moment of epiphany. We see this in large organizations as well as startups. In large organizations, it's the companies that recognize and reward the people that are doing the growth experiments, doing the growth tests that allow you to assess whether the customer will actually take this product or not. It's actually hard work. It's not the sitting in a brainstorm meeting once a year and coming up with the ideas. It's the people who go out and collect the data, engage with customers, and make data-driven decisions based on all the rounds of batting that they do every single day in their roles. Those are the true innovators. And similarly with entrepreneurs. And this is why it's so important. I always ask, why are you really doing this as an entrepreneur? Because if it's not aligned to your true interests, your values, I know that you're not going to be able to be around and batting for 5-7 years, which is what is going to take you to get this thing to the kind of success you dream of. It's about a higher batting average and a consistent batting average, as opposed to trying to get that 1-6 or that 1-4 every now and again. Shifting your mindset to be a plow horse as opposed to a show horse is how you get into the real innovation game. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the 3 myths that I hope I have busted in your mind so that you can truly encompass the innovator spirit. Corporate innovation is not about talking about innovation. It's about designing a lean innovation framework that makes the decisions on your strategy, how resources are allocated, how decisions are made, and how you provide support to your employees to progress their initiatives. Without a process, there is not enough individual stamina that will bust through the lack of a lean innovation process. Myth number 2, you as an entrepreneur need lots of millions of funding in order to be able to build a technology product that you can use to scale your ideas. With the no-code tools out there today, anyone can build a product. And finally, innovation is about the waking up and the batting every day, not the once out of the blue lightning bolts of epiphanies or insights. It's about being a plow horse and not a show horse. That is innovation and tech fluency from Rapelang Rabana.
Get feedback. Let's talk about the story you listen to improve. Now, it's really important to listen to your customers. We've previously spoken about testimonials, and those are fantastic. But what you really want to be able to improve is to get good, tangible feedback. Get feedback about your product or service, how people feel about it, did people enjoy it, how did people engage with it. You want to know everything about your product, including the packaging and how you deliver it and what you can change about that. You want to get feedback on the engagement with your customers. Do people like working with you? Do people think you're a great service provider? Do people like talking to you when they come to your business or calling you, and whoever's on the other side of the phone, do they give them a great experience? And finally, you want to talk about the ease of delivery. So you might have a great product and people might really like working with you, but it might be a bit difficult getting a hold of your product. So how do you improve those particular things? Getting those key feedback from your customers can help you figure out how to improve your product, the experience, or your delivery. If you're clear on how to improve those things and really take good feedback to improve, that gives you more customers and allows you to get more efficient in your business, but also grow in your business. So if you don't have good feedback, go ask some people. Make a list of who's used your product, who's constantly come back, and who hasn't come back. Go back and ask all of those people how they feel about those 3 points. Get your feedback and get growing.
You're watching HybriCon 2022, and I have to tell you, people, that is innovation royalty that's in the house. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolute pleasure, Nico. It's been awesome to work with you as always.
It's just incredible. When I sit and listen to you, it's like, I mean, we work outside of this, but oftentimes I just listen to you and I go, now that's innovation. And I mean, absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a lot of questions to ask, and I think the first thing is obviously if you're even wondering, Google the first line of. I mean, I don't know a lot of South Africans who are on Wikipedia. I have to do that because it's amazing. You have been in the innovation game right from the start. I mean,
I would say so.
I would say, how did you start by just getting in there and doing it while all of the big corporates and everybody was just sitting around boardrooms and talking about it? Do you want to talk about that?
I think what helped me get into it was I appreciated really early on in my life that there was nothing certain, actually. Even getting into a job or organization, there was nothing certain about that path. And when a Microsoft or a big tech company launches something, there's nothing certain about these things. And as soon as you realize that everyone is in the figuring it out game, it somehow made it more accessible to me. I somehow let go of the idea that I need to be smarter or better to start figuring it out. And I would say that one little epiphany has definitely opened the door and crafted my career, because it meant that straight after varsity, I found the confidence to do this work, not because I thought I was brilliant, but I realized that nothing was certain. So if nothing was certain, then I might as well do it too.
That's the lesson, everybody. We can go home. But I love it because I think that there's, particularly in entrepreneurship, and you touched on it both in the boardroom and those individuals who are trying it, there's a lot of talk about it, and innovation isn't talk, is it? Because it's a long game, but you've got to get in there, and that's what you're really saying.
You've got to get in there and you've got to do stuff outside of your head. So I would definitely, there's a lot of talk, and a lot of the work that we do around design sprints, where we help you test an idea or check, validate what you're thinking, is around getting companies and people out of thought world into real world. For as long as you're doing thought world paralysis analysis, all those literature reviews and all those, models you learned at varsity, which is nice, and a lot of really smart people have been taught to think like that and exclusively like that. And that's where the problem comes in, because innovation isn't so much about how you can organize the world in your head. It's about understanding how the customer is organizing the world in their minds. And that requires you to get out of your head and into the real world and closer to the customer. And that's a big shift for many people, because it's saying, let's experiment and maybe we'll figure out the answer. And often we don't want to say that we're doing that because I'm being paid the big bucks. I can't I can't say that I don't know. I want to do an experiment and test it out. And that culture is, really, really negatively affecting it, because then we need to do the paralysis analysis and all the talk to move somewhere.
There's so much to uncover with what you say, and she speaks so fast. I love it. No, the facts are just coming. I love it. So the first big thing that I hear you say is, obviously, we've got to be brave. There's almost like an intelligence trap to just think it through, but not actually put it in motion.
Yes.
And then the other thing that I hear you say, which a lot of people have the data but may not know how to access it or how to read it properly or to interpret in order to inform what we have to do next. Do you think that's a problem in corporates?
I don't know that it's about interpreting the data. Most of the time when people talk about interpreting the data, it's the research reports from some amazing, management consulting firm or whatever. It's not market data from an experiment you ran with a customer.
Okay.
So if you want to test a new WhatsApp channel, or if you want to test a new fintech product, did you put it in front of a customer in some high fidelity prototype? Did you watch them interact with it? Did you listen to the questions that they came out with it? Did they ask for the product in that session? That's market data, and we call it Yoda, based on the book, The Right It's. And they talk a lot in there that we should not be making investment decisions on innovation based on secondary research. You should be running experiments and collecting Yoda. And that data isn't complicated. This is not about data science analysis. That's what you do with secondary research. This is about, did you put something that is representative of the ideal solution in front of the customer? How did they interact with it? And were they willing to put some skin in the game? Did they want this product? Did they want to commit more time and effort? And if you don't get that, there's no amount of consulting research reports that will ever matter without that data.
Okay. So it's almost like Da Vinci used to say, experience is my muse. Go out there and do it. Now, you kind of answered what I wanted to ask about. What do you think is the problem in the corporate world? Because we're going to talk about entrepreneurs just now as well. But on the corporate side, what do you think is the real problem there?
Yeah, it's a lot of the paralysis analysis and stuff that I've touched on, but I would also say that because organizations or large corporates may not have a process about what do you do when you've got an idea for an initiative to take it forward and to get it ultimately to the right audience, to validate it, all of those questions about how you nurse an idea in the early stages. So what often happens is that because that process isn't defined and people don't know where to go, it's then the people that have access to the hippos that are then able to progress their ideas. So it means that it's those that have the privileged networks, the privileged relationships, the loudest people in the room that are then going to be able to get the attention of a hippo who can sponsor something to move forward. And then that means you're actually missing out on a lot of initiatives in your organization because your lack of process has favored the louder voices.
Excellent. Wow. It is such a complex topic. I want to ask you just in this section still for corporates, if somebody's watching this and goes, I need her help, what do you do? How do you help corporates?
Sure. So I would recommend that, especially around this innovation topic, check out fastforwardinnovation.com. That's FFWD. Innovation.com, and you'll actually find a lot of articles there that we've written about how corporates need to drive innovations. And you'll see that we also do some work around design sprints in particular. We call them proof of value sprints. So whatever initiative, a new automation that you want to do, a new product innovation, a change in your customer experience, it's about how do you validate and show that there is value in this initiative or idea before you allocate those millions of rands you want to do to it. That's the piece that we really play in. And then over and above that, I would say we also just venture builders. So for those companies that are looking to have that, 3 or 4 or 5 mega businesses come out in the next 5 or 6 years, how are you going to quickly, iterate and get identify what those 2 or 3 ventures are going to be? How are you going to do that in the first 3 years and mature it so that it can ultimately be embedded in your business? That initial piece we call venture building. Okay. And that's essentially, our other big area of expertise.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to come back and ask more. So hurry on over to the site, but not right now because we're going to be back with more right after this. Welcome back. This is HybriCon 22. There's a huge raucous in the kitchen, and in here as well, we're talking to Rapalang Rabana. Thank you so much for that talk again. And now we're going to talk about entrepreneurs. And I think one of the first things that I did hear you say, and I come across a lot of people when it comes to innovation, people are so impatient because I want to have the big idea and I want to go and I want to be a unicorn. Yes. Do you think it has to do with expectations that are unrealistic?
Sure, I would definitely say that we might have swallowed too much of the Silicon Valley Kool-Aid there. It really doesn't play out like that. And I would say that you actually need to be a lot more authentic with yourself. You've got to decide, what do I genuinely care about? What do I wake up thinking about? When I'm running or I don't have to do anything, where does my mind go? What are the things that I'm deeply curious about? Because you need to be operating in a space that invigorates you just in and of itself. Because when things are not going badly, when you're not making money, when there's no cash in the bank, when your customers are painful, when your investors are a pain in the ass, you're going to need to answer, why are you still here? And if it's not for something that you genuinely care about, it's going to hurt. And it's going to be hard to keep batting. Yeah. And if you can't keep batting, you can't make it to year 5 or year 7 where your success can begin to manifest.
You see, you talk year 5, year 7. It's not something. It's not an overnight.
It's not an overnight thing.
Now you use the metaphor of batting, and I'm not a cricket person.
Neither am I so much, but the rest of the world is.
How do you keep batting? Just give me some steps. What is it?
I keep batting by, I guess first I always tell myself, for as long as you're alive, whatever happened yesterday is not definitive, because you can still do more. You can learn from what you did yesterday and change what you did and keep on going today. Two, I put my ego aside. I've appreciated that this is not about me showing my intelligence, showing how smart I am, proving to the world that I am rich or successful. It's actually my life journey here. And it's not about, those things are just really distractions. And for as long as I feel like I am waking up to do something that I think is important, I think it's a privilege. So I'm want to go and bat, right? So that frame of reference, I think, is really important. And then I do the basics. I recognize that I'm a human being. I've got to eat well, sleep well, so I don't get sick so often. I've got to make sure that my mental health is strong. I've got to make sure that I've got good supportive relationships, because those foundations are super key when you're playing a long game, and you can't overlook them at all.
Yeah. So it's really the long haul you're talking about. Now, you also mentioned how technology is so available. There's so many softwares. It's so easy to get stuff off the shelf, and that you don't need coding. Now, me, I'm not much of a coder, and I'm lucky that I've got Merit, because he understands that stuff in the studio.
Yes.
But I mean, for somebody who's an entrepreneur who has great ideas and wants to still sort of test, but may not have that combination in talent, how do they go about doing this?
The way I like to think about it, Nico, is that instead of saying I'm not technical or I don't understand this piece of software, rather look at your everyday life and ask yourself, what are the things that I did that might have been a waste of time? Or what are the things that I've done that are either affecting my customer experience or it makes them less keen to consume or buy my service, etc. Maybe it's the fact that, I know, for example, whenever you go and do a life insurance application, right, they want to call you on the phone, and I don't want to talk on the phone about it. Can you just send me a WhatsApp with your questions and we can chat like that? And it's asking yourself at that point, do we support this customer service and engagement on a channel that some of our customers prefer? Or have we assumed that we've got to pound them on the phone to be able to make progress? And these are like reflections. Maybe it's, I spent a whole 3 days every month doing admin and accounts in my business. Is there really no other way to do this? And it's not about the technology. It's about identifying the hindrances or the constraints in your business and having the presence of mind to say, could there be something? Who knows something about the space? And being part of an entrepreneurship network, can really help, because when you throw it out there, people can say, have a look at this, have a look at that. And I think it's the assumption that nobody else knows my pain. Nobody else knows what I'm feeling. Nobody else is really doing a business like mine. Nobody else has really understood my challenges. That idea and thinking is what really blocks you from realizing that millions of people have been tackling the same questions you're tackling, and if you're willing to benefit from the experience, you will find that they've actually invested time and effort in helping you solve those problems.
And there's probably something off the shelf.
There's probably something off the shelf, exactly. Or even if it's not off the shelf, there are all these no-code tools now that allow you to configure what you want. So by that I mean you don't have to code using zeros and ones anymore. You're coding now using Lego blocks. The same way you would have put together a Lego box to build a house, you are now able to do that with the no-code tools available, like Airtable I'm a big fan of. You can design your CRM process, your operations processes, anything you want on that Airtable kind of thing without lifting a line of code. So it's really an extraordinary time to be digital.
It is wildly exciting, and I think there's so much that can be done. But perhaps another problem that I see, and when I listen to you, is that some entrepreneurs may also work from the end result in terms of the technology they want to use, to go, I want to use this app, or I want to use that software, I want to do, and that may be a hindrance also for innovation, because you're not starting with a pure idea, is it? Yeah,
that is definitely a hindrance, because saying I need to put blockchain in my product or whatever else is not the way to think about it. You've got to start with the constraint that you are facing or that your customers are facing, because then you're able to identify the right technology to deal with that constraint, as opposed to Let's find a cool piece of tech. Let's figure out how to
Yeah.
use it.
So
You
it's
may
about
not
the
actually
cool.
be directing your efforts to something that's going to move your business forward.
Now, I'm sure you get this a lot. Entrepreneurs who have great ideas and they contact you and go, how can this work? Will this work? So we don't want those people to contact you. But how do
Sadly
you
not.
help? How
Yes,
do you
yes,
help startups and young entrepreneurs
Yeah.
or people with bright ideas?
You know, I haven't quite figured out the best way to do that. I am in the process of finishing my book. So hopefully, maybe sometime next year,
Fabulous.
something will be in the works, and I hope that will be a toolkit. And I'm hoping to support that book with an online, site or toolkit that allows you to draw stuff that you might need to answer stuff around how you run your business. And that could be sort of the starting point of a community to support entrepreneurs that I'm hoping, would provide that gap or
There's
close
just
that gap.
so much learning because I listen to you and go, oh my gosh, she knows a lot. That's so fantastic. That is all we have time for today. If somebody wanted to see more or make contact, where do they get hold of you? Where's your site? Where can we learn about your business?
I'm mostly active on LinkedIn, so check me out and follow me there. Or you can also go to rapelang.com. There I've got my contact details. If there's a specific occasion or event or something that you'd like me to be part of, you will find me there.
This is wonderful. We thank you so much for your time, and do hurry on over and look out for the other clip. If you're a corporate or a business, then there's a lot of information in that clip as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. More to follow on HybridCon 2022.